All right, do you think that $100,000 a year is enough to live comfortably? Well, it turns out for a growing number of Americans, it's not even close. A new study is shedding light on just how much money people say they need to be making in order to feel financially secure, and it's astronomically higher, to no surprise, than current wages.
Now, our Queen City News Chief Business Correspondent Taylor Young joining us now. Taylor, a $100,000 salary is a pretty impressive one, I think most people would say, but now more Americans are saying that's the bare minimum needed just to afford to live.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who grew up in the 90s and, was in school throughout the early 2000s, I mean, I don't know about you, but I used to think of a $100,000 salary as kind of the goal. Like, you're rich, you can send your kids to private school, you can live in a nice house, drive a nice car, really live comfortably. But in today's economic climate, at least the perception of that $100,000 price tag has changed, despite a $100,000 salary continuing to be extremely impressive even in 2025, statistically speaking. Now, in a recent study by Bankrate, it found 45% of Americans say they need to earn at least $100,000 a year to feel quote unquote comfortable. More than a quarter say they need at least $150,000, and some even went as far as saying it would take a whopping $500,000 or more to be financially free. Now, in contrast, 77% of Americans say they do not feel completely financially secure with their current salary. That number has been steadily rising in recent years, and even more troubling, a third say they believe that they will never be able to reach financial security. As for what it would take to feel quote unquote rich, more than a quarter of Americans say that number would be more than $1 million a year.
I feel like that ceiling always raises the whole time.
Yeah.
So what's contributing to these sky-high expectations?
I mean, money just went further 10 to 20 years ago. I mean, if we just look at home prices just by themselves, I mean, they've increased 200% since the 90s. Inflation has continued to rise. And I just think there's a lot more things that Americans are having to pay nowadays that they didn't have to kind of shell out money for every single month. I just made a list while we were in commercial. I mean, just think of the price of cars, childcare, college, subscriptions, insurance. I mean, these are things that maybe 10, 20 years ago, you may have been paying for insurance, right? But we've just seen the amount of how much these things cost just increase astronomically, and wages, aren't necessarily keeping up with that.
Yeah, you especially feel that with the housing market. But so we know that people have this magic number in their head of what would make them feel comfortable, but what's the reality?
Yeah, and this is what I kind of find alarming, right? Because the expectations aren't kind of aligning with reality, really even remotely close. So while nearly, half of Americans say they need $100,000, it's estimated only 18% of individuals in America are making that amount, and only 34% of households are also making that. So, the median household in the U.S. right now is around $75,000. That's two people in a household with both of their incomes in most cases, right? And according to the survey, I mean, they're not even close to be able to live comfortably, which I do think is alarming, even if that is a perception versus reality.
Taylor, is there ever going to be a point where we see the wages catch up to reality, where they're adjusting for the cost of living and all that, and we actually have an adjustment that makes sense?
Yeah, and I do think that's the $1 million or $100,000 question, right? So, I mean, over the last, we have to kind of look about what the trends that we're seeing right now. So over the last couple of years, I mean, we have seen inflation generally outpacing wages, right? But, from 2024 of April to April of this year, for the first time in a couple of years, we've actually started seeing wages outpace inflation, which is a positive shift, right? But I do think that, the reality is that we have to look at the labor market conditions. That's really what's going to be the driving force. Low unemployment and tight labor market, that's going to make these major companies pay people more, right? Because they want to bring in that top talent. Unfortunately, right now, that's not what we're seeing in the labor market. If you're out looking for a job right now, it's no secret that competition is really tough. So these major companies don't necessarily have to be offering well over what they're already offering in order to get people to come into the door. I will say, though, that's not all horrible, because this is a balancing act, right? The minute wages shoot up astronomically, that is a tie to inflation. So if companies are paying 20% more what Americans think they need to be paying, the cost of products are going to be going up as well. So there is absolutely a balancing act. I think the moral of the story here is that Americans do not feel that they're making enough money right now in order to afford life, unfortunately.
All right, Taylor, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.